everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity with Query. My name is Neal Bridges, Chief Information Security Officer at Query.
Hi, I'm Matt Eberhard. Good to see you, Neal.
Good to see you too, Matt. I want to talk about something that has shown itself in my feed quite a lot here lately that I think is it's turned into a little bit more than just a clickbaity title, because there's actually seems to be something to this. I want to get your kind of take on it, but it's this idea that data is the new oil. Now, for those who are tuning in and don't understand what that means, I think the implication here is that data, which is the ingredient to virtually any organization's success, whether you're on the consumer side or whether you're on the business process side, whether you're in security or not, data is key to your organization's success. When I say data is the new oil to you, Matt, what do you think that means?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's certainly catchy. Could see it posted on social all over the place. You know, what's funny, Neal, is I was on a call with a senior security leader for a Fortune 50 company this week, and they actually said that. They said that data is the new oil. And I think it's interesting. So I'll just give you a couple of off the top of my head kind of thoughts on it. One, I think that's right. If you think about oil, it's in the ground. You can't see it. It's kind of everywhere. It's hard to access. If you really want to do something with it, make your car go or whatever, you've got to be very purposeful. You've got to extract it. A little bit that I know about oil is it comes in a lot of different varieties, and that certainly seems the same with data. And so when you say that, I think it's interesting because certainly today in today's world, businesses are really built on and powered by data. And I think the ability to actually use it, to use the right data at the right time, whether it's servicing your customer or creating a competitive advantage, I can definitely see that. I don't know. In this day and age, when you say data, I kind of feel like we should ask ChatGPT what it thinks about data.
Let's not have ChatGPT enter the chat. But with that, I do have two key questions that I want to get your perspective on. But before we dive into that, I want to talk really quick. I want to give everybody kind of this understanding that if data is so important, you have to think about, we've got this proliferation of data. Data exists in crazy places these days, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on-prem, it could be in applications, it could be in service. And I want everybody to think about this for a second. Imagine trying to make a police report or file an insurance claim without being able to identify what was actually stolen or what was actually, injured as part of that insurance claim. And so my question to you, Matt, more specifically is, with that analogy in mind, if data is so key to organization success, why do we make it so difficult to access it?
Yeah, I think it's because if you think about how data has just, now it's everywhere, as you said, it's growing at such a vast rate that I don't think that most organizations have really thought about, okay, exactly who needs to access this data and how is it growing and changing and how are the needs of the businesses always changing around using that data. And so, an example would be, it's like you have an IT or a business system that's created with a certain task or outcome in mind, a certain group of people are using it, but then it grows. And now you've got either new people using it or you're trying to service a new side of the business with it. And so I think that's probably part of it. If we think about in cybersecurity, the world that we operate in, Neal, I think the amount of data that needs to be used to defend and protect an organization these days, it's so much larger than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. And that data just continues to sprawl. And so I think you really have to think about, how do I give my team, my security team, the ability to access the right data at the right time? And so I like this kind of emerging term of sec data ops. I think we've even mentioned it here on the stream before.
Yeah.
And, I think it's really just the process of making use of data in the security lifecycle. I think of people, process, and technology in that security lifecycle. And it's making use of the right data at the right time. And the last piece I would add to that is, I think today we're still in the early stages of that transformation, because teams are having to spend a lot of time purposefully architecting to try to make use of the data. And so what that ends up looking like is as a security team, you're spending most of your time and your money on the actual data manipulation, architecture, implementation. That doesn't really work, because by the time you get it set, now there's new data in the business that you need to take advantage of. And so, I think there's certainly some this sec data ops trend is to be able to, have some more data science capabilities and chops in your security team, and for your team to be able to pretty quickly use and onboard and ultimately make use of, I think, data that's security relevant, that's now everywhere. What do you think?
I mean, when you say that, I put back on, the hat that I wore when I was building security operations centers for some large Fortune 100 clients, in the past, and I think about having to architect and having to build around my SIEM. And to your point, I've got to do this massive data discovery exercise. That's okay. Where are my crown jewels? Where are my critical information systems? Where is everything stored? Where am I getting, contextual data and things like that? And then I think about, this is in the key, this is obviously, pre-pandemic, and it was in kind of that key throes of that digital transformation office. And I think about the expansion of cloud and moving all of that stuff into the cloud. And I think about the expansion of that data, kind of asset to encompassing all of these cloud resources. And then you add on top of that any of these SaaS applications that, you've purchased and integrated and start to utilize as well. And that data sprawl, to your point, just gets absolutely massive. And so I put that hat on and I go, gosh, we don't make it easy for organizations to be able to identify, search, use their data in an effective manner whatsoever. And I like that we keep bringing up sec data ops as well. And I do think that is going to be something that's going to be a very commonplace term for us.
Well, I mean, you went right there, so I can't help myself. But I think at Query that's one of the problems that we are really aimed at solving is, to be able to really realize and understand that security relevant data is going to be everywhere. You're never going to be able to corral it all or centralize it all, and that you need to be able to empower your teams to access it, to search it, to understand it, to make use of it when they need it. And that's what I really like about the sec data ops movement. And I'm excited for the product that we're building and the feedback that we're getting on making it easier for people to access and understand that distributed data.
So I think you partially answered my next question, my last question that I had for you. But I like to be very, very specific. I want to put a very fine point on, especially for our listeners. And so what I would ask you is, how do senior leaders prioritize their environment or their involvement, if you will, in the data management of their organization?
Yeah, I think that you've got to really make it easier for people to use data and the right data. I mean, I think there's a lot of nuance to that question. Certainly need to understand how critical the data is to the business. Does it have privacy or compliance requirements? Certainly the general guidance, I believe, for most companies, certainly for technology companies, has been just keep all of your data forever. And I think that will start to change. I think people are starting to realize that actually maybe destroying some data is a better model. But when it comes to enabling people to actually use the data, I think you need to think from the beginning that a wide group of people will need to use and access the data for a wide variety of things. And if you think about it that way, it might lead you to think about architectures a little differently, think about search a little bit differently, think about visualizations a little bit differently, and think about even what data you retain for a long period of time a little differently.
I think if I were to summarize what you just said there, the way that I hear that is, I think just being involved in those data decisions and understanding what's important in your organization, understanding your crown jewels, understanding where your security relevant data is, understanding how it's being moved about, manipulated, and the rules around it, not just at a surface level, but understanding that it is, becoming more of an important issue to your organization's success. That's probably something that is a step deeper than what most senior leaders are typically thinking about with their involvement in data today.
I think so. And if you think about oil or you think about energy, if we stay on that analogy, it's on the one hand, the organizations that are able to control the oil or the access to the energy certainly have a lot of power. But if you really want to change the world and really do good for people, it's making sure that the people have access to it, that they can use the energy when they need. And I think data is very much the same way, that the more access to data, again, the right data at the right time that you can provide across your business, the more powerful they can make use of it, and the better the business results will be.
I love that. I love that. Give that power to the people to use that data so that they can be successful in their jobs. I absolutely love that. Matt, any parting thoughts before we turn it back over to our audience?
No, it's good. I love it. Data is the new oil. I think that's got to be a t-shirt. It's good stuff. Thank you, Neal.
Thank you, Matt.
As always.
Everybody, take care, and we'll see you next time.